Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm Bruce McCurdy of the Edmonton Journal's Cult of Hockey, and I'm joined tonight by special guests Connor McDavid, Kevin McCurdy, and Sidney Crosby. Oh, wait. No, Kevin McCurdy's the one in the middle that actually moves and smiles. And he is filling in. David Staples and Kurt Levins are both otherwise engaged tonight. So we're just doing a quick podcast to acknowledge Canada's great victory in the Four Nations tournament. And welcome, Kevin.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to be here with a smile on my face. I can tell you that.
Oh,
Wasn't
icy in places.
wasn't so sure. Wasn't so sure for a while, but in the end, the old reliable, never in doubt tweet went up, and so did the cup over almost everybody's heads. 3-2 for Canada, with the game being tied after each of the three regulation periods, 1-1, 2-2, still 2-2, and not decided until the 8:18 mark of the first and only overtime period, when none other than Canadian hero Connor McDavid connected from the slot with a wicked shot past Connor Hellebuyck that that left no doubt. Puck was in the net, couldn't have been offside because face-off was in their zone. There was no sort of did it count or not like we get so often in the modern NHL. This was a very decisive moment, and a great moment it was indeed for Edmonton's own, Newmarket's own as well, Connor McDavid, who didn't have a great game, but he sure had a great moment, and at the moment that Canada needed him most. So a fantastic finish to what was a pretty tense game. What was your view of the game overall, Kevin?
Honestly, middling, especially through the middle portion of the game. I felt the Canadian team struggled with passing as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
but the overall playmaking ability definitely left something to be desired. But the boys left everything out there on the ice. So, I don't know. What did you think?
Well, yeah, it was like the whole tournament was the defensive play was so strong that there really was, wasn't a lot of times for spectacle, because the moments to make anything happen were fleeting, to say the least. And the American team in both games that they played were very strong at shutting down chances either before they developed or right in the moment where it looked like, hey, that's going to be a goal, and all of a sudden Jacob Slavin would show up out of nowhere with his big long stick and shin pads and whatever else to break up another play. Man, was he fantastic in this game.
That's a really
And
good player, man. Holy.
is he ever? And so those moments were fleeting when they did happen. And Canada got one goal by shooting the puck through traffic and creating traffic. And they got two goals with real nice passes in tight to the net, or to a player in tight to the net, and that was able to bury past Connor Hellebuyck, who did have a number of good saves along the way. But I would say Canada had the better of the goaltending tonight. The shots on goal would back that up, 33-27 for the U.S., and yet score was 3-2 for Edmonton. We don't have the full stats package that we typically have when discussing Oilers games, but we're just going to kind of wing it with the numbers that we got. We are going to do, as we usually do, two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. And I am going to let our guests kick off with what was your good thing in this game?
My good thing was Jordan Binnington, and I know
Gotcha.
that goaltending. That's a tough pill for me to swallow as somebody who normally wears the orange and blue to a near fault. But Binnington came up big when it mattered. Throughout the tournament, he let in a couple of soft goals that you really don't want to see go in the net, but when crunch time came in the third period and overtime, he was an absolute rock solid monster for Canada. He made some huge saves that basically saved the tournament outcome for them, as far as I'm concerned. There was some real defensive breakdowns there that he came up big when it mattered the most.
Well, in overtime, like
Yeah,
I counted 4 great saves, including 3 in a seemed like a 5-second interval. A save, a diving glove grab on the rebound. First one was off of Matthews. The rebound was off of Brady Kachuk. And then right off the subsequent face-off, Matthews again. And I thought all 3 of those saves were absolutely terrific. And USA probably had the 4 best chances in overtime before the one that
yeah,
decided it. And your goalie in overtime, he can be everything.
yeah,
And this is one of those games and series where uh, it's always fun cheering for Canada, and that they always have a hodgepodge of players you like, players you don't quite like so much, players you think you probably would like if they were on your team, and this is your chance to find out, as I personally did with Corey Perry way back in 2010 when I learned to appreciate the worm for the player that he is. And there, Jordan Binnington's not on either of our list of favorites. I know that, Kevin. And yet, credit where due, he was fantastic when the chips were down.
yeah,
This is his second, the 2 biggest games of his career, both in TD Garden and Boston, of course, because he won the Cup, Stanley Cup, Game 7, right there in Boston in 2019.
yeah,
And now this single game showdown, which, as coincidence has it, was Game 7 of this tournament. It was always designed that way with a 6-game round robin and a final. But
yeah,
it was a Game 7 in every real, winner take all. Whoever wins kind of scenario. And Binnington came up big and little. I would say a little unlucky on the both goals in a sense. The first one just kind of popped up and over from a scramble. Second one, D-man tried to clear it, and he cleared it about 5 feet right onto the stick of the guy who slammed it into the net before Bennington could get over. And he fought through a lot of traffic and made a number of tough stops along the way. And then in overtime, just outstanding. I mean, imagine how much less we'd be smiling right now if one of those Matthews shots had gone in. So anyway, he had the answers when the chips were down. My good thing, what else could it be? The game-winning goal, series or tournament-winning goal, scored by none other than Edmonton's own Connor McDavid, who I thought, in many respects, had a fairly rough game. And the puck, there was very little time and space out there. And when the puck did go to him, it was skipping on him, it was bouncing over his stick. He was all around it, uh, especially in the first period, not good. Second, third period's better. He was all around it, but he was never all over it, which is how I would describe his game when he's driving the play and and driving the other teams back with his speed. And but he's always dangerous, eh? And as I was saying to my wife, Kevin's mom, in uh, overtime intermission, McDavid just going to take a second. He doesn't need the whole 60 minutes. He just needs a second. Get him the puck. And I kind of was thinking of that goal that he scored against Calgary that eliminated the Flames in 22, where it was Draisaitl on that occasion making the diving pass off the sidewall and finding McDavid's tape in the slot with nobody quite there, and bam, off the post and in, it was over. And this goal is actually quite a bit similar to that in terms of he broke into the open, and before they could close the hole, the puck was already on and off his stick and bouncing out of the back of the net. And all Americans could do at that point was rue the day and the outcome that they lost track of the 5-time scoring champion when the chips were on the line. So great play by him, great shot. Holy moly, the end zone replay right in the top corner against, the best goalie in the league, Connor Hellebuyck, let's face it. and he just
And it's
plain
not close
beat him.
either.
Not by any statistic that I've seen this year, and he just plain beat him, overpowered him with a really hard shot. Third goal of the tournament, and all three of them were beauties. So, and on the goal, credit where due. Canada in this game, they had two guys dressed in this game out of the 20. Two guys dressed in this game who actually play in Canada. All the rest of the team plays in the States because Josh Morrissey was missed this game due to an illness, I believe it was. And Sam Montembeault, the third string goalie, he never dressed first nor last. So all they had left was McDavid and Mitch Marner. Well, game-winning goal, McDavid from Marner and Makar. But Marner made a beautiful pass. He made two beautiful passes. He takes a lot of grief in a lot of places, including Toronto. But boy, did he make great passes to Bennett on the tying goal and to McDavid on the winner. And of course, he scored a huge overtime winner against Sweden, which was the only reason Canada got into this final, was they won the tiebreaker against Sweden, and they won that because they beat Sweden, and they beat Sweden because Marner scored in overtime. So I was having a back and forth with somebody the other day about that. They were saying, yeah, but 3 games he's been invisible. I'm going, well, Peter Klima, after the 1990 Stanley Cup Finals, we weren't criticizing Peter Klima because he played iffy defense. The series, everybody remembers the goal. We still remember that goal. Well, so I say, yeah, give Marner a little bit of credit. He came through in crunch time for this team with a goal and an assist in overtime in the series, and another assist on that tying goal that they got tonight that they never could get in first game against the Americans. Remember, same scoring. Canada scores first, USA ties it, USA goes in front, and then they just played it out and essentially won 2-1. Well, this game, Marner and Bennett were able to manufacture a tying goal, and they played on. So good on him. Good on McDavid. Good on Canada. That's my good thing.
If I have to watch the play again, but I'm pretty sure McDavid and Marner slipped Austin Matthews on the last goal there, and that's who lost his coverage on McDavid.
Yeah, well, he lost the faceoff first. McDavid won the faceoff and stepped around Matthews, as I recall, and fired a shot right off the dot that went just over Hellebuck's shoulder and caught the glass and went around to the point. And that's where Makar kept it in, and he sent it around rang it around the wall to Marner in the left wing corner, and he recovered it, looked up, there was McDavid, and put it right on his tape. So it was just a short play, maybe 6 or 8 seconds at most from puck drop to game over.
Yeah, no, that was a really nice sequence overall, and like you said, McDavid had been struggling a little bit, I think, that whole game. Just not his usual sharp self, and that's been a bit of a trend this year. I don't think it's you have to wonder about injury or illness with him, because it's just been it's not his usual completely sharp pencil every game type of play. Yeah.
Jason Strudwick, former Oiler, of course, an expert commenter, says that McDavid's playing with the governor on this year, that we're not seeing his top gear, and he thinks he's completely focused on the playoffs and not, the team's good enough to win regular season games without going all out every game, or without him going all out every game. And on the one side, you say, well, he should give us the very best he's got every single game. But on the other hand, load management is a thing, especially when the guy's playing 22 minutes a night throughout the season. And he's, I think he's pacing himself. That's another way to put that. And on the other hand, you see him lift that cup, and he can only barely get it up to his shoulders without doing the full overhead, and you kind of wonder about that.
There's a 50-50 there. It's not the Stanley Cup, which is what I hope.
The Stanley Cup for anybody else either.
No, but a bunch of the guys that lifted it all the way legitimately have cups. So I don't think he was the only one that did
Right.
that.
Yeah, I suppose
And
that's fair. Yeah.
a bunch of those, that old wives' tale of hockey players is you don't lift any cup but Stanley, and not until you've earned her. So,
Right.
uh,
Well, there was a report going around today that I assume was accurate that Canada had 14 players who won the Stanley Cup, and the United States had two.
yeah,
So that's and I do know at this moment in time that Canada has 24 guys who've won a Four Nations face-off, and the USA has zero. Does that mean?
it's not. It's not. It's well deserved. They put the pedal to the metal when it
Mhm.
counted. But it was a real close game. I'm looking at
Mhm.
expected goals on one site, and we're looking at just over 3 to just under 3. Across
Virtual
that
dead
game.
heat,
Yeah,
eh?
like it's a
Well,
virtual dead heat. And to be fair, USA really, from the graph here, really poured it on right at the end. But
mhm.
um, it was a close game. That was not. There was, aside from the score, not a clear victor in terms
Right.
of.
No, it came down to the one play, and
Yeah,
or, the
just
plays where they didn't score, and the one play where we did. So, out of all that, what did you come up with for a bad thing? Any particular
uh,
aspect?
I know I already had voiced this on Twitter a little bit, and some positive and some negative feedback, but I still think that there's some room to improve this roster,
Hmm.
particularly in the defense core.
Okay.
I'm a defense first watcher, I guess. When I
Well, you used to
observe the
play.
game, that's what I used to play. So I look at it from the defensive side of the game, and I saw that, I saw some guys that were really struggling tonight. Sanheim, in particular, I
Hmm.
did not feel had a particularly strong game.
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't a huge fan of Pareko. I felt the puck was dying on his stick a lot. Um, just in
They.
general terms, I think that this defensive core is not as tuned as it could be. I think Harley's a good ad. I think Harley's
Hmm.
been
Yeah, he looked
pretty
really good
strong.
both
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
He played the two games against Team USA, so the two toughest games I think
yeah.
for Canada, and I thought he looked good in both of them. Particularly
Yeah, but
impressive, they collected him off some beach in Mexico and pulled him in halfway through and wouldn't even let him practice with the team until I think he got a few minutes day of the game before USA, and then he just stepped right in there and did a fine job. Very impressive by him.
extremely. Those rules are weird, man. Like, I don't know. I got nothing against bringing a 26-man roster to events like this. I think that's the way it should be.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
don't think we should be having these negotiations where we change the rules partway through the tournament to expect the unexpected of sorts. Um, yeah, I think that I do think there's room for somebody like Bouchard. I know I'm a massive homer for
Yeah.
saying that, but when you're playing with as much elite talent that's as used to playing with guys that can make a breakout pass, having as many
Yeah.
guys as you can find to make a breakout pass, especially one as elite as he is for that particular category.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have been a little bit. He might have struggled with some of the grittier plays in the corner, you know. But I think the breakout passing, is so critical to quality hockey and
It's
quality
huge.
playmaking. Yeah,
It's huge, and that's actually my bad thing, which is semi-related to yours. Was I thought that the breakout passing into and through the neutral zone by Canada was not up to snuff. There was way too many plays where they got the puck out of their zone, but they didn't really get over center, and it just came right back at them. And
yeah.
a lot of simple passes that were missed. And I get that there's a lot of pressure, and you got very little time to make your play. Uh, and so the bad thing is tempered by the good thing, which is the other team checking the shit out of you. Uh, but there were times when there were plays open and those passes didn't get made, which is, I guess, what made that overtime moment extra sweet. Was that finally execution was executed and So was
Lots
the
of passes
opposition.
behind, lots of
Yes.
passes
Yeah.
ahead by just like one
Yeah.
extra stick length or whatever. Like, just it's minor stuff, but the minor stuff really
Oh,
adds up over the course of the game.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of one play through the neutral zone where they had to just take 2 extra steps to clear a set of shin pads that were directly in the path, and that just, that's just rushed, sloppy playmaking where you're under pressure and you're feeling the pressure and the gravity of the game, I think. And with a clearer head, you take those 2 extra steps, you buy yourself that space before you throw a Hail Mary across the middle, right? It's real easy for those to get turned around and you end up with an odd man the other direction, and then
Yeah.
it's really important.
Ask any Oiler fan.
Yeah.
Or any
Yeah.
hockey fan, really. I mean, it's part of the game. If you mismanage the puck, you're going to get burned from time to time.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
so that was my, mild criticism. I mean, it was a tough game without, a whole lot of sort of neutral play
Yeah.
where there wasn't much coming out of it one end or the other. But there were times I thought Canada was just not really clicking and connecting on, you know, coming through the neutral zone with the puck and with speed. Something that could get cleaned up. All right, let's move on to our numbers, and then we're going to have a little conundrum at the end. So,
Sounds good.
what do you got for your number?
Nate McKinnon's stat line tonight,
Mm-hmm.
which was nothing short of completely full. Not a huge Nate McKinnon fan, generally speaking, especially after the Colorado series a couple of years back. But when you look
Mm-hmm.
at, 5 shots, 3 hits, a giveaway, a takeaway, 2 blocks, and a bunch of face-off wins and losses, there's not an empty box on that sheet.
10 shot
Uh,
attempts.
and a huge goal to go with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
no doubt that he can put the numbers down when it's crunch time, and that's really important when you're playing this kind of hockey.
Tournament MVP in the end, and it's kind of hard to argue. I think he scored 4 goals, and he was he was a force to be sure. Him and Sid Crosby were connected from start to finish, and they had some real character, some real chemistry. Must be all those commercials they've done together. They are, I think they're
Now they're just
buddies, and
they
they're.
more. I mean, Nova Scotia brand hockey, right? Like,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, tonight we had uh, alternative. Of course, we had Crosby, McKinnon, Marchand. They're all from Bedford Basin, right there near Halifax. And tonight they also had referee Gord Dwyer from that part of the world. And one of the things that I liked about the broadcast was they mentioned right at the beginning of the game about the uh, at the Halifax Tree, I think it's called. Every year since the 1917 Halifax Harbor explosion, where a huge ammunitions boat just went kaboom in the harbor with devastating consequences, killed many, blinded many, um, left shrapnel everywhere, leveled the big parts of the city. And Boston was uh, among the first to get to it's not that far, to get to Halifax as quickly as they could and help out with the recovery. And every year since, I guess the year after to now, I read a story about this last December about the Halifax tree, that the 50-foot tree that they donate to the city of Boston every year
mhm.
for their public square sort of Christmas thing. And it was a nice reminder at a time when Canada American relations have grown a little frosty, shall we say, that we have these long traditions that maybe do need to be reminded, and that's one. So they were talking about that and all these Nova Scotia boys that were on the team, which is unusual that we didn't always have that many players from the Atlantic provinces in the NHL, but got some gold-plated stars in recent times, and uh, they played their part. Great numbers by McKinnon. I'm going to pick another favorite of Oilers fans, uh, Sam Bennett. Everybody loves Sam from his days in
Or
Calgary, and of
I was
course
going
in
to say
Florida.
former Calgary
Yeah,
Crane, Sam
yeah,
Bennett. Yeah.
yeah, and in Florida. But man, oh man, tonight he played 14 minutes and 18 seconds, which was like ninth most among forwards, and it was like 2 seconds more than the 10th guy. And yet, in that time, all he did was take 6 shots on net to lead the team and land 5 hits to also lead the team. Now, leading the team in shots and hits, that's a power forward staple. A guy that'll do that from time to time. And they put up crooked numbers in both those columns in particular. I've been tracking it for years. And he, to lead the team in both. And oh yeah, he scored the 2-2 goal, that second goal that Canada never could get. The other game against USA, he was able to take Marner's great pass and stuff a perfect shot right high in the short side corner over Hellebuck's shoulder to tie it up. And he was, to my eye, a force in this game and in this series. And he was also that in the Stanley Cup Finals. So this is a guy with a history of, at the draft, they were touting him as a big game player, and played a
He
big
plays a
game tonight.
greasy. He
Oh,
plays a greasy greasy finessed hockey is what he plays, and he's your direct. He's your sort of direct Brady Kachuk competition, I guess. Um, Gotta ask, do you want more grit? Do you want? I know grit is something that the general populace wants to see more out
Mm-hmm.
of, but where do you put Canada as in the, you know, is it
Grit
enough? Is it
department.
not enough? Yeah,
Well, they were, I would say, distant second to the Americans, and I think that's one area that they might want to thicken up a little bit for the Olympic squad. And in fact, we're gonna talk about that as our conundrum
yeah.
to close this out. And our conundrum is, uh, of the players that played for Team Canada, here, how many of them do we see as solutions for the Olympic team? So I think let's do a quick just census of the roster and just yes or no on each player. Yes, no, or whatever's in between those two. Overtime loss. Uh, so
Probably or
yeah,
TBD.
yeah. Need more information. So
Yeah,
I'll just do my usual thing in numerical order. Devon Taves,
probably.
strangely wearing number 5 in this tournament when number 7, his usual number, was available. I still haven't heard the story behind that. Yeah, I think he's slam dunk on this team in the Olympic team because of the pairing that he
Yeah,
plays on. Travis Sanheim.
I think he's probably played his way off the team, but that's
Hmm.
just my,
Yeah,
or at least into the seventh position. I think.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, third.
Definitely wanted a bit more from him, and
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
pretty quiet.
He was marginal to me. Like the whole decor. I mean, obviously they lost. Petrangelo pulled out, and other buddy, his partner, Shea Theodore, got hurt in the first halfway through the first game and was out. And then they had McCarr sort of in and out, and a lot of their skill was down on defense. But the guys that they had in there, he's sort of looking at the high end guys on the American defense and thinking, boy, is this how good a match is this? Kale McCarr,
Absolutely, slam dunk.
100%,
I just,
hundred
I it's
percent.
the, I don't think there's much doubt. He's right up there with the best defenseman in the world, if not the best defenseman in the
Mm-hmm.
world. Just in terms of his dynamic plays, yeah, we can talk about Quinn Hughes. We can talk about um, Rasmus Dahlin, even potentially, but he's
Talk about
absolutely a
Zach Wierenski, and we can
Renski.
even
Renski's
talk
going to be a
about he
monster.
had a great game.
Yeah,
We can also even talk about 22-year-old Brock Faber in terms of the best defenseman because he's just coming rising now.
22-year-old Brock
Hmm.
Faber that played
Yeah,
29 minutes of ice time. Yeah,
yeah,
that
that
one.
guy. That guy played 25 minutes in the other game. Okay, on to Sam Bennett.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolute gamer, man.
yeah,
Just a gamer.
he's a third or fourth line guy that can play center, he can play wing or bang bodies or win face off. There's lots of things that he can do, and as a uh, joiner player, excellent. You need to have some grinders on any team. Sam Reinhart.
I'm to be determined.
Okay.
I think Sam Reinhart is an incredible elite player, but I wanted more out of him from this tournament. Um, of the top, if you want to call McDavid's line the top line, or if you want to call
Let's say
McKinnon's
top
line the top,
six.
let's just say the top six. I want more out of him to be playing with McDavid, right? Like I just don't feel like there was a ton of chemistry there.
Yeah, well, he did get another assist tonight, and he had
Yes.
3 assists against Finland. I thought against Finland he was low key terrific. Like he's a
Yep.
real subtle player, Reinhardt, and he won't sort of blow your socks off a lot of the time, and yet he sure does things
Like subtly
that
sweep one in
have
the short
nice
side.
results. Yeah, yeah, or subtly sweep one into the path of McKinnon, who goes in and scores, and nobody even knows how he got the puck,
Yeah,
like happened in the last game. Mitch Marner.
absolutely.
Yep,
I know lots of people
yep,
talk shit about Mitch Marner. Like
I do.
that's just that's just the Toronto landscape. But
In Toronto,
I've
he's
in
vilified.
Toronto, and I saw at least, especially this game and the first game, an absolute gamer. Um, really strong player. Like he is. You understand why he's so highly rated by some, and it makes you scratch your head why he's so, I guess, controversial in the Toronto space.
Well, he's soft. It doesn't come through in the big games. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Must have been an illusion then. I got Marner in my keeper league, so I'm kind of biased, but
yeah.
I think he's a pretty terrific. I do know this: he scored 2 game-winning goals against the Oilers this year. Just in
Hmm.
case you think he doesn't. Anyway, enough about him. Braden Point,
Absolutely.
all day, every day for me.
Braden
I
Point
love
is,
that guy as a player.
yeah, we got our own guy potentially brewing in the minors that plays an awful lot like Point, and you have to wonder if maybe there'll be a Point in warmups at some point for Edmonton, so to speak, to steal one of Friedman's lines. But
Yeah, you're of course
he's a
talking
really
about
good player.
Matt Savoy, and I've long set Point as sort of the high bar of what's possible, what's the range of
Yeah,
what we're looking for this guy. What kind of small,
that's a pretty impressive
offensively
range.
gifted, gritty guy do in this league? And when you look at Braden Point, the answer is quite a lot, obviously, because he's been a
Mm.
great player from his 20-year-old season. Uh, Seth Jarvis.
He was quiet tonight from a score sheet perspective, not from a Corsi perspective. I think he was running wickedly positive Corsi. Um, I have him at here.
Yeah,
I had
he's
him at 18-7 chances
yeah,
for, or sorry, Corsi for and against.
10-3 in shots.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's moving the puck in the right
hmm
direction basically
yeah.
the whole game. I'm
hmm
I'm still jury's a little bit out on whether he fits in an Olympic picture, I think, but he's a good player.
Okay. Sorry, Nathan McKinnon. Yes and yes. Next topic. Brandon Hagel.
I'd say Hagel's probably also on the list. I think they're
He's a nice
close.
player.
Oh yeah.
He's a nice player, and I can see why Cooper likes him.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, he's got a lot of different. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Thomas Harley.
100%.
That's a
He
guy who
played his
raised
way
his
onto the
stock.
team.
He really
Yeah.
raised his stock. Yeah. Yeah.
He came in with no practice, as we talked about,
Mm,
and played 2 excellent games. No brainer.
yeah. Colton Parayko.
I don't love Pareko's game.
Mm,
I think that he struggles with breakout passes, and the play dies on his stick, as I think I already said once. I think that he would be in my maybe replaced pile for sure.
Yeah, he looks a bit ponderous out there. I mean, he does have some nice aspects too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice to have that size somewhere on the back end, and he can crunch it up a little bit. And he held his own in that fight. Of all the guys that fought on Saturday, he had by far the fewest career fights, only two.
Yeah.
Everybody else that was involved had double digits, and the three Americans all had over 25. Mark Stone.
I know Stone scored at least one goal in this tourney. To me, his skating leaves a little bit to be desired when you're playing at the pace that these tournaments are played at. He skates like Corey Perry skates, which is with a set of boat anchors attached to him at any given time. Still effective, still crazy effective, but if you're looking for speed, it's not Mark Stone. Like,
well, I think they're looking for speed, but they're also looking for other attributes, and he's got a great stick and very good defensive instincts. And I think he's probably a lock to be somewhere on that team, whether it's, top six like they were trying him, or tonight they shifted him down to the bottom six where he was fine. And he was a guy who was a seventh round pick, I believe, because they thought he can't skate. And yet, by the time he was 19, he was already a star on Canada's World Junior team, the one here in Alberta in 2011-12. And he couldn't skate then either, and all he could do was sort of dominate. So I think you could find room for him among your 12 forwards. Brad Marchand, on the other hand, he's looking pretty slow to me at this stage.
Yeah, I don't feel like Brad really was jiving with the team. Like, on a personal level, he's a dude that keeps the room light, right? Like, he is a room guy through and through. And anybody that knows him will tell you that. But I'm just wondering if he's a little long in the tooth for, competition grade hockey at the Olympic level at this point.
Yeah, you could see it. He got that partial breakaway tonight, and he just couldn't separate.
Yeah.
And he's one of the legacy players. He's one of the first six guys to be announced to this team.
Yeah.
And in the end, he's not for want of effort or experience or any of those kind of things, but Father Time remains undefeated, is the old saying, and he's catching up with Brad, I think. Anthony Strelli.
Controversial from at least the takes that I've seen on Twitter, but I think that he held his own. He went 75% on the face-off dot tonight.
Nice.
Like, as a fourth line center, what else are you looking for, right? He's a big version of Derek Ryan, wins on the dot constantly, like
penalty killer.
Yeah.
Not that we needed any of that tonight. There was only one penalty called in this entire game.
I'm honestly surprised by that, but there was a couple of pretty obvious fouls in both directions.
The refs pocketed their whistles pretty much for this entire tournament.
They called the one that they had to call because it was so egregious that they kind of, like, not egregious in terms of violence, but just egregious in terms of,
it was too obvious.
Breaking. Yeah.
It was too obvious. Okay, Sidney Crosby. He's going to be another year older and deeper in debt next year, but
still knows how to play the game.
Yeah, well, every time he plays for Canada, they win. So there's that.
Yeah.
Why mess with a good thing? He's still only going to be 30, 38. I mean, whatever.
It's his last hurrah for sure.
Gretzky was 38 when he went to the Olympics, and I think you're 37, and so was Mario when he went in 02. He's in that class of, career superstar, automatic Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's on the team. Drew Doughty.
If Drew Doughty still has legs once the Olympic training camp rolls around, probably. But that's one of those, is Father Time going to catch up to him before that happens? What I saw out of Drew Doughty was real chemistry with McDavid, and generally being mostly in the right place. Took some real ugly hits from Brady Kachuk to make plays, and just a real tough bastard, right?
I admired his what he would look over his shoulder, realize that he was in the trolley tracks, and he'd go to the boards, make the play on the puck, get drilled, knocked down, and just scramble to his feet, not even look at the guy. I thought, what are you doing to me? I mean, none of that stuff. He just sort of bounced up and carried on playing hockey.
Yeah.
I got respect for that. Then there's this other guy, Connor McDavid. What do you think? Is he an Olympian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be biased.
I think so too.
Might
Definitely biased, and I still think there's 100% chance he's on the Olympic team. A couple other skaters that weren't in the lineup tonight: Travis Konechny.
50-50.
Yeah. He didn't, to me, show much that said what's he doing to help this team. He's sort of a guy down there in the bottom of the list, scrambling around. We also had, of course, Josh Morrissey.
Yeah, I think Morrissey is kind of a slam dunk, probably, if he's healthy. I mean, he must have been really ill if he missed the game, or they really wanted to get Harley back in, one of the two. The team has been ravaged by illness the same way as the Oilers have been. Like, whatever these guys have got this year, wow. Ekholm has been really ugly looking for a month, right? Like, or sounding, more importantly.
Yeah. And then Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore. Alex Pietrangelo pulled himself off the team, but Shea Theodore got hurt. And to me, he's a likely Olympian next year. So, all right. Well, we'll have to add them up after and count what we have. There's a few openings for players that we won't get into tonight because there's too many of them, and we're already running to time. In goal, we only saw one guy. I mean, we learned nothing about Aiden Hill. I got no more opinion on him than I had 2 weeks ago. But Jordan Binnington, some were saying tonight they should just write him in pen for the 2026 Olympic team starter. What do you think of that?
I don't know about starter, but I definitely think he's made the team outright with the way he's played in this tournament. Aside from defense, if I have any really serious questions about roster comp, it's goalies, because to me, leaving Logan Thompson off with having the year that he's having is a choice, right? Like, he's one of the best goalies in the NHL outside of Connor Hellebuyck, and he's still not. Yeah.
So he is, but Canada's goalies, I mean, based on their track record, the guys they had in this tournament were not strong relative to those on other teams. So Binnington solved that problem. He did have his bad moments, but as we said,
all goalies have their bad.
He came through when it mattered most, which was the overtime of the gold medal game. Like a few stellar saves there, and you're going to be a hero, and he is today or tonight. So, okay, well, that kind of winds our way through the Team Canada roster. And thanks for that extra little bit of insight. I think with that, we probably should have got any sort of last thoughts on the tournament and.
Yeah, I do have one more passing roster comp thing, and that is that I feel like John Cooper struggled to find somebody to play with McDavid that was going to play on the level. I don't know if that's just McDavid's hard to play with, or if he's struggling.
Nobody's used to playing with someone quite as fast as him.
So I think choosing none of Bouchard or Hyman to be on the team with him is a decision, not a particularly good one.
Yeah.
If you want to build chemistry, throw him a bone and give him somebody. You know, Hyman scored 70 goals last year on his wing. He's doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he didn't play well in November, but
Yeah.
completely disregarding the previous year's results and playoff results
Yeah.
is certainly a take.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, good tourney. I'm
Yeah.
actually I was more whelmed by the tournament than I expected to be, I guess. I was not expecting. I was expecting it to be the All-Star Game light with some um, light memeing and general tomfoolery, and it was a true
Oh.
best on best
Oh yeah,
tournament.
there was none of that. That was hockey all the way. Yeah, my last sort of observation is my first observation from this game. I was sort of bracing myself for Canada to get demolished in the American City after previous goings on. You can have your view about why that was going on in Canada and why it's a different thing. And sure enough, there was some booing. But you know who took over the song was the Canadians in the audience that were singing. By the time they got into the second half of the song, all I could hear was the people singing it. And there was no more booing, and I thought that was great. They just kind of sang them down, and nicely done, Canadian fans, and those people that went there and wore the red maple leaf, the proud red maple leaf in the Boston TD Garden, and sang loud and proud and cheered loud and proud for their country in this game. They got a terrific memory to come home with.
Yep.
So good on you guys. I think the Canadian fans had a great game
Yeah,
and done us proud. So
yeah, absolutely. No, it's a bit of a tough environment right now, and it's still nice to see that, generally speaking, hockey rises above that. And sport
yeah,
was always sort of, yeah, it had its
this
political
one was
underelements,
this one
but
was different. Yeah,
this one was different,
yeah,
100%.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, happy ending after all that, at least from the hockey point of view. And so we're smiling tonight. And I think with that we'll sign off. Thank you, Kevin, for filling in for David and Kurt,
Anytime.
and chipping in with your insights tonight. And thanks to you, the audience, for listening. And in the meantime and in between times, it's been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.